Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Today we're looking at Castellum. The big question is it a good time to buy now?
We want to hear from you. Subscribe, like, and comment to support the show. And if there's a specific company you want us to look into, leave it in the comments below.
So let's get into the analysis of Castellum. To really understand this company, you have to grasp its specific niche.
Right.
It operates squarely as a federal contractor. We're talking mission-critical stuff. Cybersecurity, defense, specialized data analytics, and importantly, exclusively for the U.S. government.
And that niche, it's not just like a description, is it? It's really fundamental to how you value them.
Exactly. I mean, these aren't easy contracts to just pick up. The barriers to entry are pretty enormous.
What kind of barriers?
You need specific certifications, you need experience with these really long multi-year bidding cycles, and maybe most importantly, high-level security clearances. That's tough for small companies to get and keep. Castellum has that expertise. And they're riding this, strong secular trend where federal spending on cyber defense is it's only going up. The threats demand it.
And we saw that demand turn into, actual dollars pretty dramatically, didn't we? That big news in October 2025 is why everyone's suddenly talking about Castellum again. Tell us about that win.
Yeah, that was a real game changer. One of their main subsidiaries, they landed this huge $66.2 million full and open prime contract.
Wow.
And this wasn't just, another order. It was the second largest contract award in the company's entire history.
That's a massive turning point. And the market certainly thought so. I mean, the stock jumped over 30% in one day on that news.
It did.
That kind of move, it shows you just how sensitive this stock is to contract news. But it also suggests, maybe, that the market sees this as sustainable revenue, not just a one-off.
I think that's right. It absolutely suggests that. And, the performance leading up to it was already looking pretty strong. Q2 2025, they hit record quarterly revenue, $14 million. That's a 21.7% increase year over year. So you're seeing this operational momentum building even before that massive contract really starts hitting the books.
You also mentioned that even though they're a smaller player in defense, their liquidity, their sort of financial cushion, looks surprisingly good.
It looks incredibly safe, actually. They've been very disciplined with their balance sheet, recently paid down about $2 million in debt principal. And if you look at their current ratio, that measure of liquidity, it's 3.6.
So what does that mean for our listener?
3.6.
It means they have $3.60 in easily accessible assets ready to cover every $1 of short-term debt they owe. That kind of buffer, that resilience, is crucial for smaller companies dealing with, let's face it, sometimes slow government payment cycles.
Okay, so strong operations, huge recent news, cash on hand. Sounds great. But let's put on the skeptical hat for a moment. Every investor needs to. We have to look at profitability because that's where, the caution flag goes up, right?
Looking back, trailing 12 months, still a net loss,
right.
$5.63 million. And 2024 revenue, $44.76 million. That was actually down slightly from 2023. So what's the story there?
That's the key tension, you're right. You see that flat top line in 2024, the TTM loss, and you ask, can they actually make money?
Yeah.
But the crucial thing here is the trajectory of those losses. Yes, they're still losing money, but their fiscal 2024 loss, that $10.1 million figure, it was actually a huge improvement, 43.64% better than the loss they posted in 2023.
Wait, hang on. A 43% improvement on a $10 million loss? I mean, that's still a pretty big loss, isn't it? Is that just moving furniture around if the revenue isn't consistently growing?
That's a totally fair challenge. The argument, the defense for the company is that this 43% improvement shows real operational discipline finally taking hold.
Okay.
They're losing much less money for every dollar of revenue they bring in. That suggests their cost controls, their contract management, it's gotten way better. So the thinking is they addressed the flat revenue from 2024 with this new 2025 contract flow. It looks like management tackled the spending problem first, and now they're proving they can land the big growth contracts.
Right. That narrative makes more sense. Building a better engine, sort of, to handle the growth when it comes.
Yeah.
And speaking of handling things, you mentioned they've boosted their competitive advantage, their moat. Can you break down that technical thing, the SIN 54151S? What does that actually mean for bidding power?
Yeah, this sounds super technical, but it's actually really important for investors to understand. Castellum added what's called the IT Professional Services Contract Capability, SIN 54151S, to its GSA schedule.
GSA schedule. Like The government's approved vendor list.
Exactly. Think of it as like the government's pre-vetted, high-quality shopping list, or maybe a fast pass for getting contracts.
Gotcha.
And adding that specific SIM, that category, means they can now offer more complex, higher-value services. Things like custom software development, specialized IT consulting, directly through this pre-approved channel.
So less red tape.
Way less. They skip months of vetting. They can bid on a wider range of potentially much bigger, much more profitable federal contracts. It's like they've upgraded their hunting license from, small rabbits to targeting bigger game.
That makes it much clearer. Okay, let's pivot hard now. Let's talk technicals.
Yeah.
Because fundamentals are great, but the market has to agree, right? And this stock, it's known for being volatile.
Oh, extremely. It's trading around $1 right now, 97 to $1.03, somewhere in there. But look at the 52-week range, as low as 13 cents, as high as $2.83.
Wow.
Yeah. This is definitely not for the faint of heart. The good news is near-term support seems to be holding pretty well, right around that 95 to $1 level. Psychologically, that's important.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. Despite the losses, despite the small cap swings, analysts seem to think this thing is a rocket ship waiting to launch. The consensus rating is strong buy, and the 12-month price target is super aggressive, $3.
That $3 target is huge, you're right. It implies, what, over 200% upside from where it's trading now? You don't see that kind of conviction very often. It's based on the analysts believing that this recent contract flow, plus that improved operational efficiency we talked about, will lead to really profitable, sustained growth over the next, say, year to year and a half.
And the charts, the technical indicators, they seem to be flashing green, too, backing up that bullish feeling.
They are. The 14-day RSI, it's pretty neutral, around 46.58, so it's not like it's wildly overbought after that contract news popped it.
Good.
More importantly, if you look at the key moving averages, the 21-day, 50-day, 100, 200-day EMAs, the technical scans are all saying BY.
All of them.
All of them.
Right.
That suggests the technical momentum is lining up nicely with the positive fundamental news. And, retail sentiment, looking at online forums and stuff, is also trending very bullish. Lots of excitement there.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling picture. Definitely captures the optimism. But we have to be balanced. Let's look at the other side. What are the big risks, the potential pitfalls investors absolutely need to consider before jumping in here?
Okay, 3 big ones stand out. First, and maybe most obvious, is profitability.
Still losing money.
Exactly. Despite that 43% improvement, the losses are still happening. The path to sustained profit isn't totally clear yet. They're still burning cash, even with that decent liquidity cushion. They need to turn that corner, and soon.
Makes sense. What's risk number 2? The one tied to their business model?
That would be revenue concentration. I mean, they basically have one customer, the U.S. government.
Right.
Now, that provides stability when things are good, when contracts are flowing, but it makes their results incredibly sensitive to things outside their control. Policy changes, budget fights.
You mean like government shutdowns or those continuing resolutions, the CRs?
Precisely. Those temporary budget extensions Congress keeps passing.
How does that actually hurt a company like Castellum?
Well, when Congress is stuck arguing about the budget, awarding new contracts can get delayed for months. Funding for existing programs can just stall out. For a small contractor, those delays can seriously mess with cash flow and quarterly numbers.
Yeah.
Their fate is really tied to these, frankly, unpredictable political budget cycles.
Okay.
And the third risk.
Just the inherent volatility.
Yeah.
It's a small cap stock.
Yeah.
The market cap is just over $90 million right now.
Tiny.
Yeah, tiny. So it's naturally going to have these dramatic price swings. Traders might love that. But if you're a long-term investor, you have to be mentally ready for the possibility that, a minor contract delay or slightly disappointing earnings could knock the stock down 15, 20% in one day.
Yeah, you need the stomach for it. And we should also mention there were couple of data points we couldn't quite nail down from our sources, which is always important with these smaller companies.
Yes, good point. While we know they cut some debt, we couldn't get the absolute latest super granular balance sheet details or exact liquidity ratios directly from recent SEC filings and materials we had.
And crucially, we also couldn't confirm recent insider buying or selling. With a small company like this, seeing if management is buying or selling their own stock is often a really key signal. So we tell investors to definitely look for that information independently.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's look ahead. Short-term picture. If someone is thinking about buying now, what are the immediate catalysts? The things happening in the next, say, 3 months that could really move the needle. Why now?
Well, the near-term calendar is pretty packed. That's a big reason for that $3 analyst target, I think. The biggest, most immediate trigger is the Q3 2025 earnings release. That's expected around November 15th.
Make or break time.
Absolutely make or break. The market will be watching that report like a hawk. They need confirmation that the contract momentum is translating into real revenue growth, and critically, that the net loss is continuing to shrink significantly.
And then as we get towards year-end, there are some market mechanics that can help small stocks.
That's right. We could see potential inclusion in microcap ETF rebalancing. That usually happens around December 1st.
And why does that matter?
If Castellum meets the criteria for these indexes, the ETFs tracking them are essentially forced to buy shares to match the index weighting. That can create significant buying pressure and boost liquidity.
Ah, automatic buyers.
Exactly. Plus, Q4 is often when federal agencies rush to spend their allocated budgets before the fiscal year closes out. That can lead to a flurry of contract awards, which could benefit contractors like Castellum.
Okay, catalysts are clear. Now, what about the buzz? The rumors. You can't talk about microcaps without mentioning the speculation swirling around. What's out there?
Yeah, there's definitely some chatter. You hear whispers that the company is actively looking at small, bolt-on acquisitions, tuck-ins, to quickly add scale or specific cyber capabilities.
Interesting.
There are also these persistent rumors about them launching some kind of AI-driven government solutions product soon.
AI for government clients. That's the hot ticket right now, isn't it? It
Yeah.
could be huge for margins if it's real.
Potentially, yes. Very high margin potential there. And lastly, there's speculation, and this really depends on them hitting their financial targets about maybe becoming eligible for a bigger small cap index or even trying to uplist from the OTC market to a major exchange like Nasdaq or NYSE.
Which would bring in a whole new class of investors.
A much larger pool of institutional money, yeah. And it would likely reduce that crazy volatility over the long run.
Okay, let's try and wrap this all up. Synthesize the investment case here. We've got strong secular tailwinds in cyber, very bullish analysts, and a calendar packed with potential catalysts. Where do we land?
Overall, we're leaning bullish. Let's call it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, an 8-10. Why?
The reasoning really boils down to three things. One, the undeniable strong growth in the federal cyber and defense market. It's just going to keep growing. Two, that analyst consensus is unusually strong and points to significant upside. And three, those near-term catalysts are very real and potentially high impact, especially the November earnings and that possible December ETF inclusion.
So, thinking about the learner listening, who is this stock actually attractive for? Is it for everyone?
Probably not everyone. It seems attractive for maybe two distinct types of investors. First, you've got the short-term trader, someone with a higher risk tolerance, looking to play these upcoming catalysts, betting on strong earnings or that index inclusion bump.
Right.
And second, it could appeal to the long-term investor, someone making a fundamental bet on those big cyber and defense megatrends, maybe viewing Castellum as a potential future acquisition target, a takeout candidate for a bigger defense firm wanting their niche expertise.
So the key takeaway really is you're betting on the government needing these specialized high-security contractors more and more. The company seems past its roughest patch financially, showing some leverage now. Okay, here's a final thought for you to chew on. That huge $66 million contract was amazing news, but it's still just one contract. How much more new business do they realistically need to win over the next year to actually justify that $3 analyst price target?